Good morning. What's up, guys? You guys ready? Middle of the week. It's Wednesday. Business first as usual. Big old pump into the open. We are up 3% as it sits right now. So anyone who swung a little overnight position is waking up happy here today. Now, as far as news, we have a laundry list, but it's kind of misleading. There's not a lot that's really going on here. We have from between now and when we'll kind of end the stream, like 11 Central-ish, we have Fed speaker at 8:30 Central Time. This is all Central Time. Fed speaker at 8:35. At 8:45, we get the U.S. S&P Services PMI flash. We also get the S&P Manufacturing PMI flash, the S&P Composite PMI flash, and then at 9, we get new home sales. And at 9:30, we get EIA crude oil inventories. Boeing has their earnings call at 9:30. That's it on the stream. So there's a lot, but it's not, that 8:45 number is going to move things a little bit, but maybe for 30, 45 seconds. And then another Fed speaker this afternoon at 1:45, and then a few earnings, Texas Instruments, IBM after the bell. That's pretty much it. So nothing that we need to really worry about here today. A little volatility maybe at 8:45. So I'll be sure to maybe not enter on the 8:44, 8:46 rollover, whatever. Other than that, we're cool. What's up, guys? Good morning. Richard, Kev, Peter, Keith, Mitz, Scrumptious. Welcome back, all you. I feel like I know every single name. Tron, Jamie, old school. What's up, guys? Welcome back. Scooby-Doo, how you doing? John Panther, what's up, guys? Good morning. How you doing? Dan, what's up, brother? All right, so 4 minutes out here from the opening bell. Let's see if we can hold this pump, huh? Very interested to see if we can. Kind of a gap up. I mean, here, we might as well look at the daily, right? The bottom of your screen there. When this opens, obviously this is just showing the New York session, okay? So when this opens, it's probably going to open up closer to here. So understand that a lot of bears, I know some of you guys are already getting ready to short this thing, are going to say, this gap has to fill, this and that, da-da-da. It doesn't have to fill immediately. It doesn't actually ever have to fill. They tend to eventually fill, but there's nothing that says, hey, these gaps have to fill today. I mean, look back here, right? Sure, you got people getting long there, and they got burned. So we'll just let the institutional orders take care of themselves, clear out, and then we'll trade what the market gives us, huh? Starbuck, good morning. How you doing? Zachary, JM, Debo, Chiquita, Vinny. What's up, guys? Hey, Wrench, I know you answered this, but what do you use for news? Financial Juice is great. You can just use it for free if you want to pay for it. It's I think it's 99 bucks a month. But if you're not someone who just trades straight off news, I think the free is just fine for you. Exposed, good morning. Rick, Lucas, Twelst, Bruce. What's up, guys? This move is clean. Did any of you guys trade pre-market? This is actually a very clean upside move. I mean, if we look, the 5-minute would have been a beauty to trade here this morning, huh? Gonna put some maybe this together. Though this being the third touch point, you probably would have drawn it a little bit more like this to begin. Maybe you wouldn't have gotten an entry there. Realistically, you can still draw it like this. But I'm gonna clean that, okay? I'm gonna leave that blank. I prefer to trade off of after the bell levels, because with differences in volume, not that I pay so much attention to volume while I'm actually trading, but I know that after the bell, it becomes a little bit of a different playing field, and levels can just get blown out from pre-market with that influx in volume. So Michael, got in at the bottom of that long red wick. Here, I assume you mean. Got stopped on the pullback before candle close. Shake my head, bad play, should have waited. What's up, athletes? How you doing? Jason, what's up? Good morning. Good morning, Kev. Just took 368 on each of my 5 accounts. Can't complain. That's not a bad start to the day, huh? You know what? That adds, it really does add to the emotional roller coaster of trading, and I think a lot of people struggle with this without realizing it. Trading, you want to sit down early, right? Especially if you're on the West Coast, this becomes even more relevant. You can have a hell of a day, or if you let it, it can ruin your day by like 9 a.m. On the West Coast by like 7 a.m. So I really think the best way to do it is to trade small, get your confidence as high as possible, and with high confidence, when you take a red day, you won't care. You'll care, but it won't be like that big of a deal. All right, there is the bell. Let's see what we get here. Peter, yesterday's China news at the end of your stream blew my 50K account, was decently sized short. Were you running a stop? In this market, guys, everyone should be running live stops, at least I think. Now, that doesn't always have to be the case, but we can get tariff news at any moment. And we've seen that. Big, outsized bars. We can see like a 15 ATR, and all of a sudden you get a 120-point bar. Bricko, good morning. How you doing? Well, there's a big ol' institutional attempt at a pump. Remember, these orders off the open, these are looking at, 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months out. Most of these orders, they don't necessarily care what's going on today, give or take 100 points. They're just rebalancing. So you see that New York session bar at the bottom of your screen there, open high. Right, obviously. So there's a big gap there. Gibbs, what's up? Good morning. Just sliding in here at the bell. Peter, stop was somehow jumped over by 30 points. Never seen that happen. Let me ask you this, Peter. Were you running a stop limit order or a stop market order? Chris, loaded up on Apex accounts today, used the code BIG. How did I forget? This started yesterday, just last night, and this ends tomorrow, okay? Apex, its back is 90% off. An eval is like $16. Okay? It's ridiculously inexpensive at this point. So if you were ever going to load up on evals, I'll tell you what, now's the time. Use code BIG, and you can pass them in 1 day, 1 trade if you so please. Though admittedly, that's extremely aggressive, but do whatever you want. You're an adult. Justin, grabbed 100K Apex for 25 bucks this morning. Give me a good pass. Give me a good setup to pass. Yeah, Peter, stop limit orders, man. Those can get skipped over. I use stop limits for entries. Stop markets always for risk management. I'd rather take some slippage than have it get skipped. Because if you get a 400-point bar on some crazy Trump news or something, and your stop limit gets skipped, it's going to be a bad day. Yeah, this 90% thing at Apex, this doesn't happen all that often, but when it does, people go nuts because it helps the business model work. Justin, hey buddy, trying Rhythmic. What do you use for trading again? Here, I'll show you. This is NinjaTrader, and with Apex, I use Rhythmic plugged into NinjaTrader. Here, I'll show you these. And then with Take Profit, I use Tradeovate plugged into NinjaTrader as well, so I can trade both at the same time. Everyone asks, this copy trader that I'm using, I don't have an affiliation, though I'm starting to think maybe I should. This is from Affordable Indicators. And I gotta tell you, it's been pretty damn good. It doesn't fix the ghost position problem in NinjaTrader, but it's been pretty damn good. It's easy to use, it's self-explanatory. You guys have problems, by the way, with moving your stop losses? There's a risk management feature if you get that option that stops you from doing that if you want to put that on. It's kind of like training wheels, but hey, no shame if you need to use that. If it helps, it helps. The point is to make money. The point is to not have an ego. Look at this move up to 19K. Up 600 points now here. Josh, good morning. Yes, we are day trading futures every single day. 8:15. So right now we're just letting those institutional orders out off the bell clear out. A few more 2-minute bars and we'll be ready to go. Again, we do have news at 8:45, so paying attention to that. Brandon, good morning. How you doing? Market trying to hold 19K here. See if we can. So that 19,000, by the way, that's going to be a tier 1 level. Okay, so market's paying attention to that, obviously. Seven, Savan, good morning. How you doing? Brandon, good. Had some difficulty trading the low ATR yesterday. Yeah, it was tough. I had a base hit day. Let me think. Yeah, I didn't take a single trade in the afternoon. No. Yeah, yesterday, with the one trade that I took on stream, that was it. So, I mean, kind of a lame day, to be honest with you. But, listen, base hit day, I'll take it. I'll take that all day. But it was kind of tough. Scott, what's up? Good morning. How you doing? I'm really hoping we get an ATR expansion here today. Now, we are sitting at 20, and we're seeing these bars hit between 40 and 55 right now, so that's not bad. That's a good start. I need to see between 25, well, ideally between 25 and 70. If that ATR starts dipping below 25 and especially below 20, then that's okay, but as long as I can get good, like, channel setups, ideally, because I don't want to bet on big breakouts when we're not breaking out, right? Good little channel scalps, then I lean more into negative reward to risk strategies when that ATR is lower. Which is fine. It's like a net neutral. The problem with low ATR, and the reason that I complain about it so much, seemingly, is because you don't get as many setups. You just chop around, and it's kind of, I don't know, you sit here and it's like watching paint dry. What is profit target ratio to ATR? You're talking about the range, right, Scott? Yeah, so today I'm planning on running 40 and 40, same as always. And then if we end up, again, dipping below 25 or 20 on the ATR, maybe a little bit later in the stream, I'll lean more heavily into negative reward to risk. I'll still go in with the same ratio, and then if I need to adjust, I will. So I'm cool doing so. And obviously, guys, when you lean more into negative reward to risk, assuming the setups are half decent and reasonable, they don't have to be perfect. You just have to have some kind of an edge, right? The win rate should go up, okay, which makes up for the negative reward to risk and maybe nets you a similar edge. Hey, Jim. Good morning from Nashville. How you doing? See, look at all these. Look at all these institutional orders still going through. I am getting... Wow, you guys see this? Look at this. Look at this. Big data differences between Thinkorswim and Ninja. Be careful if you're trading this. Be very careful. I wouldn't trust your data right now. Big differences here. Look at this. This happens every once in a while on big volatility. You got to be very careful. Most people get hurt when this occurs. I don't think this is worth trading personally. At this very moment, that is. Eric says Quant Tower froze on it. Yep, be very careful, guys. I'd be hands off right now while this data works itself out. If you're looking at one platform, even if you're looking at 2 or 3, you don't know which one to trust. Gotta let these clear out. Look at this, still extremely different. We're seeing 50-point differences here between Thinkorswim and Ninja. That right there, by the way, use live stops in a market like this. The only exception to that rule is if you're someone trading intraday, like, 3, 4, 5 hour trades, and you're giving it, 200, 300 points of room looking to get 2, 3, 4, 500 points. In which case, I still wouldn't get up and go to lunch without a stop. I mean, we can get a 400 point bar. It's not unheard of right now. Eric, I was literally about to go long. Scrumptious. I was long on that trade of 8, showed 800 profit, hit exit market, only gave me 170. Yeah, those market fills are gonna kill you on volatility like this. Tip: if you ever are in a trade and you don't have a take profit on, let's say you do have a stop on, and it goes in your direction like this, and all of a sudden you're like up 150 points and you're like, oh shit, what do I do? Have a hotkey that hits you out on the offer with a limit order if you're long, and on the bid with a limit if you're short. Now there's a risk you don't get filled, but with a market order, the risk that you get slipped like crazy is very high in that kind of volatility. Aaron, traded the open and got stopped for a loss almost immediately. Crazy moves. Gotta be careful. Gotta be careful. This is why I really like to wait until 8:40, 8:45. Here it's probably gonna end up being after this 8:45 news. We have some PMI flashes hitting. Here's the headline, by the way, if you missed it. China tariffs likely coming down to between 50 and 65%. From Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal also said White House considers slashing China tariffs to de-escalate trade war. There you go. There's the volatility. God, a lot of it, a lot of accounts just blown. A lot of accounts just got blown. It's tough to see, because I know that that's the case. Again, I think holding off till 8:45 is a good move here. So we're going to be trading, we'll be doing 8 Apex funded accounts here, and 2 Take Profit Pros. Those, the size, the ratios are based on a baseline of 1 micro, so you can see the sizes I'm trading in each account. It's obviously just based on buffer. But still, scaling horizontally. I don't scale vertically, so you're never going to see me trading like, well, at least in prop, you're never going to see me trading like 10 minis. I think it's just irresponsible and kind of a waste of time. It's too big. You lose, 2 trades in a row, which is statistically very probable. It's going to happen. You blow the account, which is, really kind of a waste of time. All right, we're about 2 minutes out here from that PMI flash news. Again, we're getting 3 numbers. Those will add to volatility for maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds, and then kind of fizzle out. That'll be it. Another headline here from the Wall Street Journal. It says U.S. eyes 35% for items not deemed a national security threat. Also, U.S. eyes 100% China levy for items. I think there's a spelling error. I think what they're saying is the U.S. eyes 100% tariff on China for items that go against U.S. interest. I think that's what they're trying to say. Vinny, welcome to the circus, a market dominated by headlines and tweets. That's our reality right now. Again, just protect yourself. Best way you can never protect yourself from like I wouldn't even call it a black swan because it happens so often now, but you can't protect yourself from random news. Like when Trump decides to press post, or his social media person he tells to press post, we're never gonna know. Okay, so just use live stops, give your trades a little bit of room, even if you're scalping. I mean, 20, 30, 40 points, 50 points, 60 points, that's fine. Just trade small. I wouldn't be trying to scalp with 5-point stops. You're gonna get chopped out and bleed a long paper cut death. And then wait till 8:45. Athletes, over time, the volatility of the tweets will get less and less. Yeah, you're right. We did talk about this, yes. On the same topic. But it usually takes longer than people think. So the first tweet, or post, I guess, that Trump is going to make about tariffs is going to have a hell of a lot more impact than the 80th. All right, Jamie says, Nico, do you pay the monthly fee for paid accounts or lifetime? So do I pay the 85 or the 130? It was 125. I think they raised it to 130. I believe the lifetime fee is lost if you blow the account you've paid for. Yes, it is. You lose the lifetime fee. So here's the answer. I have done both, and I just pay the lifetime because my average that I hold the account is going to make it a lot cheaper to do the lifetime. Now, if you're somebody whose business model, this is why you need a business model, otherwise you don't know the answer to this. If you're someone whose business model is like you're super aggressive and you go through a set of 20 Apex accounts every 2.5 or 3 weeks, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're making a lot of money doing it, your expenses will be higher, but then you should do the monthly. But if you realize over time that, okay, my average account lasts like 4 months or 2.5 months or whatever, or 8 months, whatever, then obviously you choose lifetime. Now you have to figure out what that number is for you, and that determines how big you trade. Okay, this isn't about luck. This is about position sizing. And then statistically speaking, on average, over the course of a year, how long is your average account gonna last? And then boom, you either do the lifetime or the monthly, whatever's cheaper. Okay, so those PMI numbers hit a couple minutes ago. Volatility from those is probably fizzled out just about by now. So we can begin now looking for setups. Things are beginning to be a little bit more reasonable as far as volatility. Zachary, trend day or channel day? Well, we have a big gap up to look at here. But if we look at the market inertia for the New York session, forget about the gaps for a second. Just put them all side by side. We've had a lot of channel days, right? From New York open to New York close. So today I'm thinking channel day, channel day, channel day with potential of a breakout higher upside if we continue this move, which by the way, is oftentimes 50-50 without news. With news, it creeps up a little bit. But the probability of continuing a move just because we gapped up 3% to 6 or 7% on the day, the probability a lot of people assume is like 80%. It's not at all. And the higher you look for, the less probable obviously it becomes because you're pushing the range on the day compared to the previous 5 or 10 New York sessions. Josh, I'm just trying to make 10 points per day. How do I find NQ setups where a 10-point stop loss makes sense? So you could do that. Something else, Josh, you could think about doing is sizing down and going for maybe 20 or 30 or 40 points a day with wider stops to let yourself be right or wrong more definitively. What I mean by that is if you run a 10-point stop, sometimes you are going to get chopped out. So, but if you have your heart set on 10 points, okay, what I would look to do is buy ascending supports with 3 touch points or more, or sell descending resistances with 3 touch points or more. For me, that's going to be the best bet at trying to take on as little heat as possible, as consistently as possible. You're still going to have losers, of course. And at 10 points, you're still going to get chopped out sometimes. James just became a member of the channel. What's up, man? How you doing? All right, waiting for setups here to develop. Again, I'm open to a channel. I'm open to continuation. I don't care. You guys know what I'm looking for. Now, if that's something, because I know a lot of you guys are struggling with getting chopped, and the term chop is heavily overused to the point where I hesitate to even use it myself now, but chop exists, and if you're struggling with getting chopped out and you feel like, man, I just can't get anything right, well, how much are you risking, point-wise? Are you trading a mini because you have to be the man and trade a mini and micros are for babies? But then you're like, I can only afford to risk 5 or 10 points. Okay, what if you traded 3 micros and you risked 30 points? Now, if you're wrong, you're more just like wrong, right? But with the mini, you may have been right. Your timing may have just been slightly off by a few seconds, which is making it your job much more difficult. And it doesn't mean you're not a scalper, by the way. I would say scalping in this market is anything under like 100 points. You want to put yourself in a position where, hey, if you're wrong, you were just damn wrong. You don't want to have to time things perfectly with super tight stops, 5 points, 10 points. That's chop on the Nasdaq. All right, here we go. This next bar for me becomes very, very important. We can get a nice growing or similar sized bull bar closing near the high. Then we have a setup to talk about here. Now you see, the market inertia here is going to be channel, right? You look at the New York sessions like we just talked about. Those past New York sessions, maybe 7 or so New York sessions. Look at this. Look at this. Bear's not buying that breakout here quite yet. This market is crazy here this morning so far. The funny thing is, it's not even all that crazy volatile compared to what we saw a week or two ago during tariff time. I mean, we're still in tariff time, but not like a week and a half ago. Now, by the way, this volatility is great if you're trying to pass some evals, and Apex is 90% off. Ends tomorrow, just started last night, ends tomorrow. You can get an eval for like 16 bucks, 20 bucks, 25 bucks. Makes the business model a hell of a lot easier to make it work out. Use code BIG, baby, B-I-G. Now, as far as news, again, we're pretty much free and clear of like scheduled stuff. We do have a Fed speaker. A couple of Fed speakers, though I believe they're either done or finishing up. And then we have at 9:30, well, at 9 we get new home sales, whatever. 9:30 EIA crude oil. That's about it. That's about it. But this volatility is crazy. Where do I track news? Financial Juice is the easiest and cheapest. You can pay $100 a month, or you can just do it for free. Now, it's going to be delayed. It's not like a terminal. If you're someone who wants to trade the news as it hits and actually have an edge doing so, your best bet is going to be to get a Bloomberg terminal and plug it into an algorithm, realistically. I don't trade that way because the competition is just too fast. I mean, even just based on location, you're kind of priced out because, you know, information can only travel at the speed of light. So whoever's closest to the exchange already has the advantage, and you have a bunch of institutions parked right next to the exchange with the fastest news possible plugged directly into an algorithm that trades the news. So it's like, how do you compete with that? Well, I don't really know if you can, at least from a retail position like where you live. So I think that's kind of unnecessary to get a terminal for most retail people, unless you're like looking at how industries are moving around the world and stuff like that, which most of us aren't. So Financial Juice is just free. You can just use it. It's pretty good. All right, looks like we might be coming in here for a test of the 20 on the 5 minute. Those bears are not buying this little breakout attempt. Now, what's good about this is we may see this channel end up developing early if we end up getting this little ascending channel. Really only like one touch point, 2 touch points, one on the bottom, really. You could argue 2, though this one is prior to the open. But when you can get a channel developing as early as possible, that's good news, obviously. Morning, John. No, we haven't gotten suckered into anything here yet. No good setups. It's all been pretty ugly here with this volatility so far, but we are looking every bar by bar. I think everyone's trying to hit code big. Yeah, Apex, the site is kind of slow right now, huh? All right, bulls are trying to hold what looks to me like it's developing into a bit of a channel. Again, when you see the New York sessions, the last 6, 7, 8 sessions have put in really solid range days, not a lot of trend days. You got to be thinking range until the market tells you otherwise. Which for me means being a little more hesitant. Not against, but a little more hesitant taking big continuation bets, and more so looking for those channels to develop in little reversion scalps. Jason, just use code BIG1670 for the first month, then 33 for each month. Yeah, with Apex, you can pass it in 1 day, so ideally you won't even end up paying that second month. Not that you should try to pass in 1 day. It's just that you can. But it's ridiculous. 16 bucks for an eval. I mean, come on. See if we can get a nice clean bounce. For this channel to develop, I need to see this thing bounce higher. I don't, if we were to get like this, you get a little mushy bounce and then fade. These little mushy bounces, they tend to break downside, okay? But for this to really put in a real channel, I need to see this bounce, ideally, honestly, clear that top. Abdul, I'm new here. Is it best to trade? Continuation. Well, best is kind of a loaded word. There's a lot of ways to... Look at this volatility. Are you kidding me? There's a lot of ways to trade. You can make the numbers work a million different ways. For me, though, I'm a big fan of continuation and channel reversion scalping with the trend on the channel reversion scalping. For me, is the highest probability. This is nuts. Can you guys believe this? Just no warning. 160 point move. Yeah, I think that volatility was a little bit more than the new home sales number, to be honest with you. Panther, it won't. We'll clean up here, but look at this bar. I mean, how do you even trade this candle? There's just nothing there. But a lot can change in 2 bars. All I really need is 2 2-minute bars to clean up, and then I have a setup. TC, would you consider a flat bottom to be forming? Well, I assume you're looking here, right? Early stages, maybe. If we got one more bounce from there, then yeah, 100%. Vinny, I vote that we all white knuckle it with no stops. Jesus. PR or ER style. No, please don't do that. This volatility is crazy. Gets you 200 points out of nowhere. Well, I gotta tell you, with how ugly this volatility is, I mean, you guys kind of see what I'm looking at, right? Now, this could just get blown out in 2 seconds, we'll see. But anyone off the street would probably draw that. They'd say, what are these things called? A candlestick? Sure. And they'd say, yeah, draw a trend line. Like, draw the psychological, what we would call, like, bottom of this little move here. And assuming they kind of understand what you mean, they'd say, yeah, well, probably like there, right? Don't overthink it. Just draw it like that. And that's what I'll draw, and we'll see if we can get a nice clean bounce upside without some crazy volatility move out of nowhere. Then, boom, that becomes a nice little setup for me. Scott, you finally get it figured out with all the different props all at once? I'm curious if you're going to trade those all at once or in batches. Obviously, either way, it's cool with me. All right, let's see if we can get a nice clean bounce up. You know, honestly, ideally through 19.1 would be plenty of room for me. Because, you know, this was a news wick, so I don't know if I can really expect us to clear that high on a bounce just to form the channel. But a test of 19.1 bouncing up out of this hole and then a retest of this level, that'd be cool with me. I'd be fine with that. You know, there's three kind of markets. Let's forget about channels and trends for a second. Volatility-wise, there's three markets. There's high volatility. There's dead low volatility. And then there's this. I mean, look at those range bars. You see relatively low volatility on a lot of the range bars, or on a lot of the bars. And then out of nowhere, it quadruples. That's kind of tough. Now that I expect that to calm down here, the deeper we get into the open, the further we get away from the opening bell. But trading all this, these two bars, you know, this bar, you guys remember we saw that move and then it just dumped. That'll hurt you. But if you find yourself taking a good setup and then the next bar happens to be that bar, fine. You'll have your live stop and you just were wrong. No big deal. But please, use stop market orders for risk management. Don't use stop limit orders. There's no reason to do so. You're not going to get a better fill using a stop limit. A lot of people think that. They're like, well, if I use a stop limit to manage my risk, I'll get a better fill. I won't get any slippage. Like, no, there's an obligation to fill you at the best price it can. Now, if you're trading prop, a lot of times it's still going to be a sim environment, even in funded accounts. So, like, whatever. But it's not going to make that much of a difference. And the problem is with a stop limit order, someday you're going to get skipped over. And it's going to cost you a hell of a lot of points. Stop limits are for entries. Stop markets are for risk management. All right, let's get a nice clean push up toward or through 19.1. then, if we get a retest, I will buy the retest. Starting to calm down a little bit here, which is good. As long as we can maintain an ATR above 25, I'm cool. TV, for Apex, I just have to make 3K anyway. Then for payouts, I have to be consistent. Well, read the rule page. The evals, they're pretty lax. Just hit 3K without, there's obviously a limit. Depending on the account, I assume you got a 50K account. To how many contracts you can trade. Just hit 3K without hitting a $2,500 trailing drawdown for a 50K account. That's what the numbers are. And then for payouts, there's quite a few more rules. You should really read the rule page. John, do you trade Asian or London session? I do not really trade Asia unless I have some kind of reason to, or no, not really. I just get chopped in Asia, honestly. It's too difficult. Breakout scalps stop working in most cases, unless there's a big news event. So it ends up being choppy. So it's like, okay, well, I'm left with channel scalps. And then channel scalps, the volatility's so low that I kind of just end up getting chopped up anyway. Because you have to bring in the ratio, and it doesn't give me enough volatility to actually be right or wrong. It feels more up in the air to me for Asia, so no. Pre-market, I'd put in the number 2 slot. But the New York session, 15 minutes and later after the open, that couple of hour window is by far, for me, the best time to trade. All right, so we're trying to make a push up here toward 19.1. I gotta tell you, I'm interested in both continuation and a pullback channel long. Both of which would be long setups, but depending on how this bar plays out, will determine on what I'm more interested in. All right, we are a minute and 10 seconds out. A minute out from the close of this 2-minute bar. I'm watching that 2-minute chart top right. If we can, now Bear is wicking this back down, trying to pull it back, but if we end up seeing a correction and a close near or at the high of this 2-minute bar without it becoming some random outsized news bar, then I buy the rollover. But we only have 25 seconds to clean this up, and Bears are wicking this baby down. So there's the rollover. We're not going to get anything, obviously. Bears took that way lower. But I am interested in that channel still. So we get a nice downside test here. Controlled, not crazy, but controlled of like 19,030, 19,025. Then I'm looking to get long. Obviously, if we just dump off through on some crazy news bar, I gotta hold off. That's why I put these in manually. Little more. Want just a little bit more. All right, I'll get long there on the test of that ascending trend line. So obviously I'm looking at this here. Average price in this trade, 19,027 and 3/4. Take profit up at 19,067 and 3/4. Stop down at 18,987 and 3/4. So we have to go through 19,000, which is a tier 1 level. Currently 10 points, 12 points in the red. We'll see if the bears roll this over and end up stopping me out. All right, 20 points in the red here. Again, stop at 18,987 and 3/4. See if the bulls can correct this here for me. Coming into the test of the 5-minute 20 EMA, which we'd also have to go through to hit me out. There's a test of 19. Getting close to that stop, teasing it within 15 points here. We'll see if the bears take that well beneath 19. Still in the trade. Bulls trying to hold that 5-minute 20 EMA, at least for now. But Bears not really having it. 10 points out from getting stopped. There's the rollover. Kind of a bear continuation setup, so coming into the stop loss here. And there we go. We'll get stopped on that. Let me make sure I can flatten. All right, we will get stopped out there. Okay, so that's a 1R loser. And that puts us down $2,400. So we'll see what we can do now. Obviously, we broke that channel now, so we gotta kind of reset our mindset here. I'm kind of becoming interested in a continuation to the downside, by the way. So we're a minute and 15 out. Yeah, I'm only going to enter if this gives us a really, really pristine setup. Obviously, I don't want to rush anything. If you guys haven't done so yet, please press like on the stream. Helps out tremendously. All right, Bull's trying to take this higher. Probably going to get a retest here, at least of the 20 EMA on the 5 minute. Okay, but also potentially the 20 on the 2, since we have that trend line that we previously had drawn, which we're going to have to delete here at some point, lining up with. The 20 EMA on the 5 minute is lining right up with that 19,000 tier 1 level, by the way. So we'll see if the Bulls can hold it. But the Bears making this feel kind of heavy, aren't they? All right, well, while this works itself out, I'll be back in 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere. All right, we are back. What is going on? This market is nuts. Now, you guys, here, let's clean this up, actually. What we're looking at here. Now, that's only 2 touch points, okay? So I don't want that, you guys to think that that's like set in stone already, because it never is, but this especially isn't. We don't have 3 touch points on either side. Though, if we get a nice 3rd touch point, I would be very interested in shorting that descending resistance. I'm gonna have a hard time just, you know, believing any breakouts until we get a really clear continuation setup if we get it. Here's the test. Let's see what the market gives us here, because I know sellers are watching that. That wick down makes it pretty clear. Yes, Danny, Apex is 90% off until tomorrow. They only bring it for like 48 hours. At least that's the plan right now, so make sure you use code BIG, single day pass. All right, Bull's trying to break this through here. But you know, you look up top and it becomes even more clear. Like, we're looking at a little bit of a flat top. Just 2 touch points there. You could argue kind of all 4 of these. So I want to see who wins this. All right, this bar will roll over in 40 seconds. Then from there, let's see what we get. See these bull bars shrinking? They're fighting for it, but those bears are letting them know. That little descending line here. They're trying to hold that up. Here's a breakout attempt. Let's see if they can get it. 1:30 left on this 2-minute bar. $60 seconds out here from the rollover. And they're just fighting over that level, huh? Danny, so is this like the best Apex deal they do? The 90% off and then use your code BIG. Yes, 90% off with 1 day pass is the best it gets. And they usually do it for a few days and they pull it back to whatever they reset it to. So what a lot of people do is they load up on evals while it's 90% off. All right, well, it looks to me like the Bulls are kind of winning this argument for now. I mean, right, let's look at all the looks. But this has me looking at the potential of continuation if we can clear most reasonable arguments of the flat top. All right, so see if we can do that here. A minute out from the rollover of this 2-minute bar. All right, we are 15 seconds out. If this closes near the high of this bar, I will have to take a continuation trade because that aligns with all my plans, but we have to see it close above 23 there, and I will buy that rollover on that bar, so I'm now sitting long. Average price, 19,124.50. Stop down at 19,84.50. Take profit up at 19,164.50. See if we can get a nice little bull continuation up through the highs. Now we cleared that flat top. We still have that one news wick to, worry about. But that was a news wick, so in my head it holds a little less weight. Break even on the trade as it sits, a little in the green. That was a bit of a push. 10 points in the money. $15 points in the money. All right, testing. We just barely broke the high on that wick. See if we can get a push up toward 19,164.50. At 19,150, that's going to be a tier 4 level, so I'm not concerned with that on its own, but I'm looking at this high here as well. We barely broke it. Bear's trying to reject that. Let's see if they can sustain that rejection. 15 points in the green as it sits. Little pullback out of the Bears there. See if the Bulls can just get a nice push through the highs. In the wild trades, how many contracts do you trade at a time? Right now, I am holding 27 micros, not minis. Still 12 points in the money. $20 points in the money. 25 points in the money. All right, now give me a push through 150 up toward 160. And a little extra. All right, 30 points in the money. I want to see 10 more points here. There's the rollover. That's a nice bull continuation setup on its own. See if we can get a pop through 160 up toward 164 and hit me out. There's 160. A little extra here. There we are. And got to flatten because I'm not flat. All right, and we are out there for a 1R winner. So, to be fair, I would call this break even on the day, just talking to myself. But we took some slippage on that first trade, so we're actually sitting down currently 296.50, even though we took a 1R loser, a 1R winner. I would call that just about break even. But to be fair, we are down about $300 because of the slippage we took on the first trade. So basically break even on the day. Let's see what else we can grab here if the market gives us something. Well, the Nasdaq, we're now up 4% on the day, which, I love to see it. We're coming back up toward 20K. I mean, to think that just a couple weeks ago, we were down at 16. Well, in the 16s, I should say. Just briefly. Kind of nuts. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't want to... Look at that. Our take profit was top ticked. Essentially. Not crazy. But I would love to see the bulls keep pushing this higher. Though at this point, I'm still thinking channel. That would mean a big trend day. I still got to think channel. That was a clean continuation, but it was within a reasonable range. I mean, we look here, look at this 2-minute chart, and you know what we should actually do here is let's get rid of these. You could make the argument that, well, I guess I'd probably draw like this. You could make that argument now. Maybe extend that out a little. So we'll see if that ends up holding any water. Zachary, 468 away from passing first 50K eval. Good work. Good work. Take it slow. Get over the line and then get funded. Oh, here we are pulling back. Really an interesting market. You know, guys, if you're just patient, you're patient, you take your A setups in your funded accounts or your personal accounts, you do your job, which is the same thing. You do your job. You show up, you do your job, you finish out, you go home, or you leave your home office, whatever. Even if you come in and you dig a hole, like even if we came in today and we lost 2, 3, 4 trades in a row, you know, you leave like, well, that kind of sucks. Now I have a hole. But you're never going to dig a hole if you're doing your job that you cannot get out of in a day or 2 or 3 tops. Now, the way that you dig yourself a nice big hole is you come in, you don't do your job, you lose 1 trade, then you lose 2 trades, and then you lose 3 trades, and now you're taking 20 trades in the day that are not high quality. If they're A setups, there's nothing wrong with taking a lot of trades if they're all A setups. But they need to be quality. And a lot of times what people do is they backslide, and they don't really realize it. They lose 2 in a row, and then the next setup they take is a B setup. They lose that. They take another B setup. They lose. They take a C setup. They win. Now their confidence is higher. And now they take a D setup. And it just digs this massive hole that can take weeks to get out of. It's not worth it, I promise you. You have a red day. You did your job. You go home after your red day. Even if you lost 4 in a row, you know, 3 days later, you're back in the green and you forget all about the red day. That's really how it works. Now, I can sit here and talk till I'm blue in the face about how, you know, you should feel, but the reality is you're not going to fix your problems from me telling you. It can put you in the right mindset to kind of like fake it till you make it, I guess, as far as like your emotional control until you have real confidence. But what's really going to fix it, I'll tell you right now, is trading small, doing your job, day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out. Your confidence goes through the roof, and then when you lose, you don't care. Because you know that doesn't matter. I'm me. I win over time. I'm a good trader. Right? That's what you'll be telling yourself. And it won't matter when you lose. You just won't care anymore. And then those backslides happen less frequently. Lee, good morning, brother. How you doing? You're late today, man. What's up? What's going on? All right, market trying to hold that 20 EMA on the 2. Lee, in New York City for work, it's awful, huh? Sean, good morning. Hey, Justin, try to give everything a reboot. See if that helps. If you guys aren't yet, please subscribe to the channel. I am live trading every morning, 8:15 a.m. Central Time. We're doing it up daily. Stefan, I've been watching your streams for about 2 weeks now just to learn, and so you give a lot of value. Just want to say thank you. You seem like a really nice guy. Appreciate you saying so. I hope you stick around. All right, well, we're now getting this pullback here off of that ascending resistance. Listen, guys, ideally right now, what I'm kind of thinking is since we have plenty of room and really no ascending support in sight, because if you were to draw it like this would be a little too aggressive for a channel-driven market environment. Like you look at the daily, what's the market inertia, right? Well, The last however many New York sessions, 7 New York sessions, 8, 9, have been channel days. Okay, so when we're looking at this, to think that we're going to see a reasonable expectation of some incredibly aggressive ascending support, to me just seems not very probable. So what I'm really looking at here is, well, if we can get a nice pullback and put in an ascending support, that'd be great. But there's plenty of room there to get a nice little continuation bear setup going. So I have both those things in mind. All right, well, volatility is calming down, which is not a bad thing based on this morning. ATR is still at about 40, which, by the way, is pretty good. It looks very small because you have this big outsized bar back here, changing the scale of this. But a 40 ATR at this time of day is pretty damn good. That's kind of right in the slot. So, let's see if we can get another setup going here. Badu. It is Tradeovate. Is it Tradeovate or Rhythmic platform? Thinking of buying an Apex account. I plug in my Apex accounts via Rhythmic. And then since scaling horizontally, I think... Alright, calm down with the messages. Scaling horizontally, I think, is the way to go. I plug in the Apex via Rhythmic and then the take profit via Tradeovate. If you end up going Tradeovate with Apex, I know some people have problems then also using take profit via Tradeovate or via Rhythmic. I don't know. Having the same, I think Tradeovate's fine actually. Trying to have 2 different Rhythmic plugins has caused some people problems I've seen. So I think just going Tradeovate on take profit, Rhythmic on Apex is the way that I like to do it. It's just easier. So 2 trades. If you're just joining us, by the way, 2 trades so far on the day. 1R is a little over $2,000, so that to me is like break even on the day. But we took some slippage on the first stop out, and then we had a winner after that. So to be fair, we are down like 296. But again, in all reality, it's kind of like break even. Yeah, Joel, correct. 2 Rhythmic prop firms on same NinjaTrader doesn't work. Yeah, so Rhythmic's the issue that people are having. Luke, about to sign up for my first eval after showing a 60% win rate on sim and a plus 30% P&L. Good work. Sorry if this has been asked before, no worries. Do you recommend smaller accounts or one big account? This is a very good question. For example, 350Ks or one 150K. Okay, so let's think about this. The drawdown that you get on a 50K account is $2,500. On a 150, it's, I believe, 5,000 at Apex. Yeah, I think the 150 is 5,009K. I think I'm right about that. So, when I look at this, what's my model? Scale horizontally, not vertically. Try to trade relatively small per account, and then just get more accounts so that you can easily follow the rules and not just blow accounts every 3 days. So, I would say, if you're between 350Ks or one 150K, which one gives you more drawdown? Well, the 350Ks, but then you have to understand that you need a copy trader. And copy traders aren't free, but they're typically a one-time investment. Replicanto is great, but right now I'm using the one from Affordable Indicators, which has been fantastic. All right, here we are getting a downside push. I need to see 3 consecutive bear bars. And also, you have to pay attention. We're coming into this 5-minute 20 EMA, about 20 points out from that, 25 points out. Dromesia. Been swing trading last 2 weeks on 4,000 bucks. Currently up 220 on my positions. My exit sell orders are in place and waiting on those key price levels to hit. Thanks for the knowledge. Good work. Cool. Keep it up. All right, big downside move here. At least relatively outsized compared to the recent volatility. Breaking that 20 on the 2-minute. It looks to me like this market wants to see at least a test of the 20 on the 5. Yes, Lee, thank you for pointing that out. 350Ks is also 3 activation fees compared to just 1 activation fee on the 150K. But again, I believe in scaling horizontally, so I think it's probably best, in my opinion. I prefer to just eat the activation fee rather than, you know, going through trading either tiny in a 150. Because, you know, it doesn't, going from 50K to 150K doesn't triple your drawdown, it only doubles it. Would you enter short if this current 2-minute candle closes at its lowest point with no wick? Not sure when you asked that, if we'd seen the rollover yet, but I would only enter short if we had a continuation downside sequence with growing bear bars closing at the low, below the 20 EMA on the 5-minute. That's my current thought process. Lisa, I don't have a link to it because I'm not affiliated with the company, but it's just the Affordable Indicators copy trader, and I also have the risk management feature. I think it's like an add-on or something, but I have both. Brian, Nico, you have both 50K and 150K on Take Profit Trader. What is the advantage of that? No, I'm currently running, that's incorrect. I'm currently running 250Ks on Take Profit Trader. I just prefer the big boys. Makes it a little easier. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with the 25Ks, the 50Ks. Those are also fantastic accounts. I don't know. With Take Profit Trader, the way that I look at it is you get daily payouts. And each account I think of as a little bit more of an asset at Take Profit Trader. Because of that, you get daily payouts. You can actually treat it like kind of like a revenue generator. So I like the 150s at Take Profit Trader, but at Apex, I think Apex is a fantastic tool for scaling your accounts horizontally. And you know, it'd be great to have like 2,300K accounts at Apex. But it's also a hell of a lot easier to pass the 50K, a hell of a lot easier, the 50K evals at Apex. So develop what business model makes sense for you. That's how I think of it. But right now, I have kind of a mix, actually, of Apex accounts. I have some static accounts. I have some 50Ks. I think that's it. All right, we're again coming into that 20 EMA on the 5 minute. Gibbs just passed the 150K eval. Good work. So you get that 9,000 profit target. Nico, I forgot with Apex, if you're over the 159, do you have to lose it back to the 159 even number? No. No, with Apex, once you pass it, don't touch it. Just leave it. Do not take another trade. You're just risking the entire pass for no benefit whatsoever. Even if you're at 159.001, leave it alone. You'll get an email this evening that you passed, and then you can pay your activation fee and you'll be ready to rock tomorrow. Pumple, is it a general rule for you to enter trades, short for example, only if it's below the 20 EMA? Would that mean if it's above it, you wouldn't short it even if there are growing bear bars? No, that's not a general rule. Usually it ends up being the case, so good for recognizing that. But if we get a good continuation bear sequence to the downside, growing bear bars with the entry bar closing near the low, with at least 40 points of room before either EMA, on the 2 minute or the 5 minute, I will still short it above the EMA. It just so happens that most of the time when you end up getting that sequence, it ends up being below. What do you think about 50K versus 25K accounts? Honestly, everyone hypes 50Ks. Everyone kind of looks down on like 25Ks. I don't see why. It's not like going to a 50K account lets you just trade minis without concern. They're both too small to trade minis in my opinion. So you're trading micros in either one. The 25K is a little easier to pass the eval, 1,500 versus 1,500. The 50K, you need 3,000 versus a $2,500 trailing drawdown, so the ratio is a little bit increased. It's slightly more difficult, but still relatively easy to pass if you're taking good quality setups and managing risk properly. But I still trade the evals aggressively. You know, I don't know. If you want it's kind of a toss-up. If you're like, well, I just want it to be as easy as possible to pass, go for the 25K. You want a slightly larger account, maybe get some slightly larger size going. Still micros though. 50K is probably a better bet. Zachary, are you thinking of buying the support that we're coming into? No, because we have not seen 3 touch points. And it's been a while since we've really tested that. I know what you're looking at, right? Zachary, is this what you're looking at? Oops. Is that what you're looking at? We have this conversation that in a range-bound market, that is a very aggressive ascending support. Now, it's beautifully lining up with that 20 EM on the 5 minute, I will admit, but it's still not good enough for me. It's too aggressive, and this is only the 3rd touch point test. Yeah, listen, guys, there's so much money to be made in micros. There's so much money to be made in micros. Anybody who's like saying, oh, just trade the minis, I just want to trade the minis because I'm a real man. It's like, they introduced micros for a reason. The mini was getting too big. Because as the Nasdaq grows, that mini, you know, volatility increases, points per minute increases, and it's still 20 bucks a point. That's kind of crazy. I mean, it was getting kind of expensive for a lot of people to trade, especially retail. So they looked at it and they're like, all right, well, let's create micros. Right, that sounds good. Here's a big bar. Look at this. Look at this. So they introduced micros for a reason. There's plenty of money to be made. Don't be pressured into trading minis. It's an ego thing. We're not here for ego. We're here to make a living. We're here to make more than a living. We're here to provide for our families. Not impress other men by trading minis. Come on, guys. Pulling all back here to the 20 on the 5 minute. Let's see if they can hold that. Look at that bar. Goodness. 105 points on the range. Volatility's here. I gotta tell you, that last bar kind of shook things up a little bit. You gotta see how this develops. All right, Trump he was making some remarks. He just stopped, just ended them. He just said the EU and China are ripping the US off. We're gonna make a lot of money for our people. We will have fair trade deal with China. That was it. Just making some remarks to reporters. Not some big scheduled thing, but kind of off the cuff. Yeah, Pumple, Apex's servers are overloaded, it seems like their site is a little slow because everybody's on the website trying to use code BIG. So it's running slow. Just refresh it, it should work. Alright, we are coming back in here now for a test of the 20 on the 2 minute and trying to hold the 20 on the 5 minute. Cool, Sean. Go past those. Get funded. Now, this 5-minute chart, this is a 2-minute. This is the 5-minute. This is one to watch here right now. Now, you can see if you look at both top charts, 5-minute on the left, 2-minute on the right, we're kind of straddling the 20 EMA on both those charts. Now, the 5 holds a little bit more water because it's more heavily watched, just a deeper self-fulfilling prophecy. Just gotta be patient for a setup here. All right, I'll be back. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. We are back, baby. Not a whole lot of change. Trying to bounce off this 20 on the 5. See if they can hold it. A couple weeks ago, Nico went away for quote-unquote 2 minutes, and we saw a 1,000-point move on fake news. Guess you'll never know. I still want to know who was behind that. Somebody got... I'm not going to say rich. I'm going to say somebody got a hell of a lot richer, wealthier. Added a few more generations onto their wealth on that manipulation. Which is what it was. That was crazy. Yeah, Chris. Trump saw what that fake headline did to the market and made it real. Said, okay, that's what the market wants, huh? Just needed gas money for the yacht. Damn straight. Yeah, Vinny, that's where we sit currently. Just waiting to grab a setup here. We just get a few, you know, I gotta tell you, looking here. There's about 25 points. Okay. So, let's look at the 2 minute. If we can get 3 consecutive bear bars, and then get a close like right below 19K. Boom, I'd short that rollover hard. Now, what I'm actually going to do in the meantime is clean this up. And I think we have reason to draw this now, right? Don't overthink it. So, a couple ideas here now, both of which happen at this moment to be short ideas. But I need to see this rejection make a more reasonable rejection. I don't want like a mushy rejection, right? Which we talk about a lot on mushy bounces. Where you then, you know, you end here and the bulls push you back upside. It's like the sellers failed getting it much lower on this rejection. Why should I short this one if the buyers are getting stronger? So that's the thought process right now. Yeah, Eric, you're ahead of me. You're way ahead of me. Yep, that's what I'm looking at. Exactly. But I need to see this rejection continue and actually give me a full rejection. Otherwise, it's mushy. Soft. Weakening. Which I am not into. Yes, Lee, good call. Good call. Even with Apex 90% off, though, it's the best deal that they run. And I love it. If you don't want to pay an activation fee, then you can go with Take Profit Trader. Same code. Well, the bulls are kind of... You know why this is happening, right? I mean, look at the 5-minute chart. The bulls are trying to hold this 20 EMA on the 5. Not that it's everything, but it is psychologically relevant. I want to see the bears push us lower and get a deeper rejection so that I can short the next retest. Because this weakening rejection, I can't short that as the bulls are stepping in. Well, you know, luckily we haven't had to deal with that break-even point the last couple of days. That break-even point on the Nasdaq has been a pain lately. Market seems to not be able to make a decision around that, but we're healthily in the green, 3.6% currently. All right, well, here's the attempt at the break. You look here of the 20 EMA on the 5-minute. Okay, so if the bulls can kind of give up hope on that, then that trend line can continue downside and line up on both the 2-minute chart and the 5-minute chart. Here's the 5-minute. There's the look at the 2-minute. You guys see what I'm looking at here? Okay. Okay. If this bear bar, we're 50 seconds out, if this bear bar can maintain this size, I really don't want to see it get a hell of a lot bigger, because then, you know, the bulls have this argument. But if we can maintain approximately this size, then I become interested in selling that rollover. So 25 seconds out, let's see if we can get that clean little setup. All right, calm down, bears. Also, there's a stop hunting mentality to this, of course, down through 19. A nice low close bears. There we go, and I will sell that rollover, so I'm now sitting short. Average price, 19,021.75. Stop up at 19,061.75. Take profit, 18,981.75. 5 points in the money right now. It's gonna be a nice little bear continuation down through that tier 1 level. It is a tier 1 level at 19,000. And then need about 18 more points down to hit target. Couple points in the money right now. Bulls trying to bounce this thing higher. See if they can. Break even on the trade. Couple points in the money. There's a little bit of a push. 8 points in the money. 15 points in the money. All right, let's see if we can come in for the test here of 19K. Tier 1 level. Got to see a breakthrough there. Which ideally would also hunt some stops here at this level. Though, admittedly, that is an algo wick. At 10 a.m. candle. There's the test of 19. There's the break of 19. 28, 30 points in the money. This is going to be volatile here around 19. Get ready. We got within a few points of target. Target at 18,981.75. Need to see some follow through down below 19. See if we can get that though. Bulls trying to hold up 19. trying to bounce it here. Come on, Bears, hold him off. Retesting that 19,000 level, again, tier 1 level. Currently 17 points in the money. Hanging out around 19. There's the rebreak, 29 points in the money. Just give me a test of 18,981. Need 10 more points here. Bull's really trying to hold that 19,000 level, huh? Bouncing it back up, still in the green on the trade. Just need to see a test of this bottom here, this region. Couple points in the money here, right around break even on the trade. Need to see the Bears take it down for a retest of that break of 19. Got a bit of a wick. Wasn't quite good enough for my trade. Bulls are attempting a little reversal sequence here. Sit and break even. Bulls trying to bounce it through this little reversal sequence. Gotta see the Bears shut this down. Well, at best on this trade here, we never... Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness. I gotta flatten. Hold up, hold up, hold up. Oh, my... God, what is going on? Hold up, hold up. Goodness. Okay. Okay. Shit. We're good. This is where we sit now. I gotta make sure we're flat. Hang on. When that kind of thing happens, that causes some problems. I don't care if you're trading prop. I don't care if you're trading personal. That gets crazy. So, we are now sitting up. We got more than we deserved. I'm gonna be straight up with you. We got more than we deserved, but we're now sitting up 4,222 bucks. That was a crazy move. Now, that ended up being about a maybe 1.7, 1.8R trade. Which, of course, you know, you'll take it. In a personal account, that can happen too, and you get more than you bargained for, and you work that into your plan, because sometimes that happens to the stop side too, and you take on slippage, like we took on some slippage earlier here this morning on the first trade. But that worked out well, huh? What was that news headline? We had to have gotten something, huh? It's not the top or the bottom of the hour. We're even at 15, so that was probably an unexpected headline. But that was crazy. JM, you're always stressing me out with the flatten thing. Yeah, so what happened there was, yeah, did we get a tariff comment? We might have gotten a tariff comment. My copier did something weird. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look back on the footage, but I went flat and then it flipped me. I don't know if they were real positions or ghost positions. I believe they were real positions, but that was the first kind of glitchy thing that I've had happen here with the Affordable Indicators copier. But I was quick enough on the trigger, flattened, and it worked out well. So that's where we currently sit. I'm gonna keep watching here. U.S. Treasury Secretary, yep, no unilateral offer from Trump to cut China tariffs. So I believe that right there is your headline. So I'm going to keep watching here and see if we can get anything else. But we are getting a lot of uncalled for headlines today, causing a lot of wicks. So we'll see if we can grab anything else here. Not quite done. Now, interestingly, my Apex accounts got the beef of that profit. So, when that kind of thing happens, by the way, in my experience, getting approved payouts with Apex, in my experience, Apex understands that kind of thing. I don't think I broke any rules there as far as the flipping and then flattening the account. If I did, obviously, it was extremely unintentional, but I don't even think I did. But the Apex accounts, you can see, took on the beef of that profit. So, you know, that's fine. I don't care which accounts the gains end up in if we have a problem like that. But that's where we sit. So, these really volatile bars, I gotta hold off on these and let this thing calm down. And then look for more setups. Yeah, Eric, if Apex were to flag you, you can just reach out to support, and at that point, it's kind of in their hands. Unfortunately, it usually takes a little longer at Apex. Take profit traders support is quite a bit quicker in my experience, but Apex eventually gets around to it. Whilst another Apex passed with that move. Good work. Good work. You'll be in a funded account tomorrow. Yeah, so guys, that's a really good lesson. If you're using a trade copier, make sure, you know, I still had a few issues, but it worked out fine. It could have been better, but it worked out okay. It would have been a hell of a lot worse if I was using limit orders on all the follower accounts, most likely. If you're using a trade copier, in almost every case, I highly encourage you to use limit orders on the entry, on the leader account, and then use market fills on the followers. It's gonna be the best way to go about it. But yeah, we're getting headlines, guys, so be careful here. We are getting headlines. No time frame for start of China talks. US-China tariffs will likely have to come down for trade negotiations to talk. Rates are unsustainable. Mitz, did your take profit accounts get bad fills? I think it was a timing error. So the way that they filled with the copier, my Apex in that case got a lot more favorable fills. Now, this is actually another like learning point here. This just goes to show it's back and forth. 95% of the time, who gets a better fill is a little bit up in the air between Rhythmic, which in my case is Apex, and Tradeovate, which in my case is the Take Profit Pro accounts. In this case, again, Tradeovate with Take Profit Pro, Rhythmic with all my Apex accounts. The Apex accounts got much better fills on that big move, which goes to kind of prove, at least with a small sample size of one trade, my point that I believe Tradeovate is a little more reliable, a little more plug and play, but a little bit slower. And Rhythmic, though it does have the off glitch, Rhythmic in my experience is the slightly more professional, slightly faster in scenarios like that option. Which, I mean, here, maybe it's a total coincidence. But I'm not so convinced that it is. The Rhythmic accounts got much better fills than Tradeovate. But I'll repeat, in 98% of the time, 99% of the times, it's not going to be very different between Rhythmic and Tradeovate. Well, we started the day red, and now we're kind of sitting pretty, aren't we, huh? But again, I don't like to call days based purely on P&L. I don't know. I don't think that way anymore. I think the longer you go, the less you become attached to that. I like to more call it a day based on, okay, are there any setups coming? And how's volatility? If volatility is dead and there's no setups, I don't care where I sit on the day, I gotta call it a day. But, you know, again, in the early days, if you need to protect your psychology, you know, you're sitting deep in the red or you're big green on the day, maybe you should call it based on P&L if your trade quality will begin to slip. Because, you know, you don't want to dig deeper, you don't want to go backslide green to red. I get it, that makes sense. Well, we've given up a full percent here in the last few minutes. No, I have not tried wealth charts. I have not. I'm actually curious how people are liking that. Vinny, my limit is 2 losses or 2 wins amounting to 3R. Yeah, having a limit like that for yourself, I think, again, in the early days, I don't want to understate. I think that's very helpful and very important. But you should also understand that it serves 2 purposes. It protects your psychology, which is helpful, again, in the beginning. But also, it helps protect you when you're not seeing the market for what it really is, which will take you less and less time the more experience you have. So that protection in the early days, again, very helpful, and you should. But as you go on, I think you'll find that you'll loosen that up because those 2 purposes, you don't really need those served as much anymore. Well, look at this. Look at the 5-minute chart. We took out pretty much all these stops. I mean, that's low a day. Which is interesting, because still, as we sit right now, we're nearly 3% green on the day. To these wiki bars. It's tough because on a day like today, I mean, the range, it's 40 points, right? But we keep getting these and this, maybe a little bit here. It seems so consistent until you get that outsized bar because we're getting a lot of tariff talk here today. So it's tough. You know, I would take this market over a dead like 9 range per bar. 9 point range per bar market. I would take this over that. But this is definitely not a smooth market between 25 and 70 ATR. Not at all. This is smooth until it's not. Debo, are you thinking long now that low of day liquidity was swept? The 5-minute wicks look bullish. Well, if that's your plan. Yeah, the bulls on the 5-minute chart are definitely trying to create a little reversal sequence. For me, though, there's not really a super clear setup, at least immediately on the horizon right now, but all it takes for me is 2 bars to change that. You guys know what I'm looking for. Bruce, I'm up 414 on 3 brand new Top Step accounts. That's 1,200 real dollars for me. A lot for this new trader. I'm locking it up. Really enjoying you. Thank you. Good work, Bruce. Keep up the good work. Hope to see you stick around. The newsfeed, Financial Juice. You can pay 99 bucks a month, I think it is. Or you can just use it for free. It's not fast. It's not a Bloomberg terminal. It's a few minutes behind on most big headlines, but if you're not trading news, then whatever. It's good enough for our purposes, at least most of us. If you're someone who needs the news immediately because you're trading headlines, then you probably want to get a Bloomberg terminal. But expect to pay, you know, 2,000 or 3,000 bucks a month for that. All right, Bull's trying to take this back upside, but then we have that 20 EMA right on the 2-minute here. All right, well, this looks to be the early stages of a potential continuation. However, we also have descending resistances to worry about. We also have the 20 EMA and the 2-minute to worry about. So there's a lot going in to the decision making here. Bear is trying to wick this back down. You can see this. We have 25 seconds to close this 2-minute bar, but we're not growing. We're actually getting wicked back, which tells me the Bears are not really buying this. See if the Bulls can clean this up in the next 15 seconds. I doubt it. Bear is turning this into a doji, huh? Which tells me that the Bears are looking to develop a bit of a descending channel here. At least see if they can try. Yeah, that turned into a gravestone doji, huh? So that's the beginning, the early stages, very early stages of an attempted reversal sequence out of the bears, reversing this, right? You get this big bull bar closing near the high, an attempt, sellers bring it back down, close it at the low like this, near the low. Obviously, it's not going to be like a 90% success rate. That's the early stages of a reversal sequence. Well, again, here's where we sit. We are 3 trades into the day so far. We're up 4,222 bucks. You can see the Apex accounts have taken the bulk of that profit here today, which makes sense because Apex is 90% off. Use code BIG, B-I-G. This ends tomorrow. 90% off, and you can pass the evals and be funded in one day. If you pass today, you can be funded tomorrow if you choose to trade them aggressively. You can see the bears really leaning into this little reversal sequence attempt. Let's see if they can continue taking this thing lower. Obviously, a break downside beneath this wick would be an intraday low, at least after the New York Open. But I'll be back in a couple minutes. Don't go anywhere. right, we're back. We are back. We have some outsized bear bars here. Let's see how this one closes. Interested to see here. Now the question becomes, is anybody talking right now? In a market like this, gotta be careful with these big wicks. So here's a nice second consecutive bear bar. It is outsized, slightly outsized, closing at the low. Now you guys know why I didn't just put that on, right? Let me show you. Actually, I would probably adjust this. You can draw like any which way, probably something like this. No matter which way you draw it, doesn't matter. I know that buyers, bulls, are watching that. Okay, I don't like to take continuation directly, no matter where I sit on the day, directly into something that obvious. You guys have seen me hold off on those day after day. And when I take them, there's nothing that I see directly in the way that's that obvious. You can see bulls are seeing that, trying to bounce this back up. Tubed out. I always trade with my own money. Is it worth getting prop accounts? I would say it's well worth getting prop accounts. It changes the game a little bit because it's no longer your own money. So it changes the game psychologically, which I think for a lot of people is extremely helpful. Now, the problem with prop accounts is that if you see it too much that way, then you end up gambling the accounts, which a lot of people do. Now, being aggressive is different than gambling. You can be aggressive, you can trade them conservatively, however you'd like, but I think it makes the psychological game a little bit easier on most people, which a lot of people need. Because, you know, if you're risking your own money, if you want to make some real money, you got to put on some risk. So maybe you're risking, I'm going to risk a car payment or my mortgage payment on this one trade or more. That changes things a little bit when if you lose, the money's actually gone out of your account. That changes things psychologically for most people. So I think prop is a good way to get your feet wet and just get some revenue coming in from trading for minimal risk, just the cost of the accounts. Chris, up 114 points on MES today. Wow, good work. Applying your principles, done for the day. Cool, good work. Uh-oh, Quicksilver's back. Quicksilver, did you catch this short? I bet you top ticked it and you're still holding it now, 300 points in the money. Yeah, hi. You were either trading the wrong security, the wrong contract that is, or your leader account was not set properly between the trade copier and your trading platform. Probably one of those two things, but I couldn't tell you for sure without seeing it, obviously. So you got to figure that out for yourself. Look at these bulls. They're seeing that. They're forming a bit of a flat bottom here. Now you look at this, it's like, well, good thing I didn't put on that continuation trade, right? Well, it wasn't a continuation trade because you see that trend line blocks it. That takes the idea off the table for me. So now we're really coming into a descending channel here. Yeah, Dan, been doing so on both the Take Profit and the Apex PAs. Appreciate you being here, brother. So you can see this descending channel is really kind of coming into itself. It's about, I mean, if you look at where a reasonable top of this would be, it's kind of lining up with that 20 EMA, though that would be probably about the third touch point, at least in this more obvious sequence where it starts to widen out. So we're about 100 points wide, maybe 110 points wide, which is not bad. Not bad at all, though I don't like to see one single bar take up the whole channel if we can avoid that. All right, Lee, have that up. We'll see you tomorrow morning. As for me, I'm sticking around here for a little bit longer, see if we can grab something else. It's got to be clean. Quick little headline here. ECB's president, we're seeing tariff impact in PMI and hiring figures. Nah, JM, this is what I do. See this channel here, it becomes really obvious when you look at it this way. And actually what we should do is we should clean up this chart. That bull bar is shrinking. Yeah, you can see here, the bears are definitely seeing that little descending trend line. Again, it's only a couple of touch points here, really. You could argue it's 3 now. if we're able to reject this, but I would need to see a clean rejection downside like we talked about on that ascending channel, maybe, I don't know, maybe an hour ago, a little longer. Well, here's where we currently sit. So this is 3 trades. That last trade was crazy. We started the day in the red. We were down about 2,400 bucks. Then we got back to basically break even, maybe down. I think we were down like 296, 300 bucks or something. And then that last trade put us up to 42.22. So listen, guys, if you can see, the Apex accounts took on really most of that profit in the end. If you need some accounts, this is the best it gets. This ends tomorrow. All right, Apex is 90% off. You can pass the eval in 1 day. Be funded tomorrow if you'd like. Use code BIG. That's BIG. But for those of you guys who are more into the daily payout structure that Take Profit Trader offers, which is why I mix the two. I think it's best to scale horizontally and mix both of those. Right now, I'm really loving the Take Profit Trader and Apex mix. It's a great mix for scaling as well as getting daily revenue coming in with those Take Profit daily payouts. Big at Take Profit Trader is 30% off, no activation fee. That's a big deal, by the way, because Apex does still have the activation fee, so Take Profit can actually be similar in pricing when it's all said and done, if not a little bit cheaper, depending on the count. So, all right, guys, I will see you back here tomorrow morning, 8:15 a.m. Central Time. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you back here tomorrow morning. All right, guys, have a good day. All right, finish out the day strong, and I'll see you tomorrow.